And we're live. Mr. Harman,
Mr. Brunet, how you doing?
very good. Let's get this show on the road.
Let's do it. All right. So thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, I'll do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Greg Harman, Director of Sales with StoneLock. I have been in the security industry for 15 years, primarily specializing in access control, and joined today by Yanik Brunet, who's got a little bit more experience.
Well, get more gray hair, I guess. Been in the industry for almost 30 years, if you can believe that. And been in access control for most of that. I'm General Manager, VP of Sales and Marketing here at StoneLock, and we have some exciting products to talk to you about today.
Excellent. So yeah, over the next 30 minutes, we're going to take you through our platform. So as you can see on the screen there, we see people differently. It is our sort of corporate philosophy, the way that we approach our customers, the people that are using our systems, the people that are authenticating at the door. We put a lot of focus on trying to make that experience as optimal as it possibly can be. But it's also sort of a play on words on our technology. If you look at the readers that are on the wall behind me, you can see that I've got basically just black readers. But when you look from my GoPro, it actually picks up a little bit of that near infrared light. So what we're doing is we're basically ignoring the visible light spectrum, and we're looking in the specifically in the near infrared non-visible spectrum. So when we see people differently, we're also talking about our technology. We are a woman-owned and founded company out of Kansas City, something that we're very proud of. Everything we do from design to development to engineering to QA to tech support and so on all being done within the United States and Canada. We're actually manufacturing the product up in Utica, New York. So something we're really proud of. We do 100% of StoneLock is being done onshore. So today we are going to take you through a brand new product, which is called the StoneLock Go. And this is basically our second generation product. Our first one came out in 2011. We took all the lessons learned and we have optimized all of the different elements to make the user experience just completely seamless. What StoneLock has been known for is just an exceptional experience at the door. Users approach the door and we can accurately, consistently and quickly authenticate them and so that they can basically move throughout a facility. The core values of this product and what we're doing is and I'm just going to do that there. The core values of what we're doing are privacy and security. So we keep user information private. It is very, very important to us. Users cannot be enrolled through photographs. They can't be enrolled because they pass in front of our device. We are consensually onboarding users through a very simple to follow enrollment process. We don't store in normal operation photographs or videos of users authenticating or enrolling. From a security standpoint, we've been around since 2011, and we are happy to report we've had no recorded cases of spoofing. Nobody's been able to trick the technology into thinking it's an enrolled user when it's not. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're working that near infrared spectrum. The big thing, though, with this product that we'll focus on is the convenience factor. We have made managing biometric keys, I think, easier than managing plastic cards. And I'll give you a demo, and we can open up to feedback at the end.
And I'll say this for an industry veteran like me, I've heard for years that this year was going to be the year biometric was going to take over because there's a pent-up demand for it. People want to do that.
Yep.
The problem was that because of privacy concerns and because the product in other forms were difficult to install, to support. It just never really got wide adoption. And when I saw StoneLock and I decided to join a couple of years ago, I recognized a product there that could really change the way things are done in the industry. And that's why I'm here.
So what do? We authenticate users. Basically, our role is going to be to take your face and turn it into this, turn it into a card. So we're going to authenticate you, and we're going to pass your card number down to the access control system. We integrate, and we'll talk about this here in a couple slides, but we integrate with the leading access control platforms that are sold and serviced by Convergint. But basically, what we do is we look at this section of the face. It is the section of the face that remains most consistent. to authenticate users. We run an analysis on that section, approximately 2,500 points. We analyze how those points differ from the areas around them. We're looking specifically at near-infrared reflectivity. And the calculations that we do is all that we capture. We don't actually capture JPEGs or MP4s or anything like that. We're just going to store the biometric key. It is a one-way process for us to get a user's biometric. They stand in front of our device. We run that analysis, and for us to get to that key, that user has to be in front of our device, flooded with near infrared in order to get back to that key.
And that's an important part. You know, at its core, the way the technology works has an inherent way to block people trying to spoof this. If somebody was to show up with a mask, a picture, or anything like that, the reflectivity qualities of the paper versus the skin would be completely different. And so far, no spoofing has been done, as Greg was saying. And it also, with how we handled all of this, it allows us to have the best published false acceptance rate in the industry, which is 1 in a quarter of a million. So in other words, this is the most secure way you could authenticate a user at the door. And it's done in a very private way.
So this is the StoneLock Go. It's what I'm going to be giving you a tour on here in a second. So just if you look around those quadrants, it is ADA compliant. So the devices are going to be mounted at 48 inches. It's what you see on the wall behind me here. And at 48 inches, we're going to be able to authenticate users in a wheelchair as well as users 7 feet tall. So when we say ADA compliant, we're talking about from a height spectrum standpoint. There is I get made fun of because we have a bullet on there called optical tamper, and people are like, that shouldn't be in a sales presentation. That's not a very, exciting
oh,
feature.
You have a temper. Woo.
Yeah.
Why does it matter?
Why does it matter? So the reason why we have that is there's an optical tamper on the back of these devices. The devices are also storing the biometric keys locally. So if a user is, if the network's down, they're still able to authenticate and get through the door. What the optical tamper does, other than the same thing every other optical tamper does, is it wipes the database of biometric keys. So as soon as that contact is broken, we wipe the database of biometric keys, and that way we can make sure people aren't ripping these off the wall and running away with users' biometrics. This is the device. Around the outside is matte black. The material on the face, and it's hard to tell from these webinars, is piano black. You have your near infrared LEDs up here at the top. Just below the near infrared LEDs is where our sensor is embedded. You don't actually see it. It's right behind that piano black finish. We have a nice big bright display on the front, and then we have a QR code reader also embedded in the face of the device. Sorry, go ahead, Yanik.
Well, this QR code really helps us with the user experience. It works for us with the enrollment process, which Greg will demonstrate in a minute. It also helps us program the unit so that when a technician is on site, they'll be able to just present a QR code and get the unit connected to the system. And then it's a two-factor authentication method. So we can actually, in data centers, use that QR code as a second means of verifying the user. So that's the reader.
So what I'm going to show you next is something that we call first read enrollment. And this is how we get users onboarded into the system. And it's important to understand the significance of this. If you haven't had experience with biometrics, the whole biometric world pretty much follows the same process of getting a user into a system. And that's how the process is. Yanik shows up to be enrolled. I open up software. I find Yanik's profile in the software. I find the device I want to enroll Yanik on. I go in and I click start. I walk Yanik over, get his biometric into the device. Then I go back to the software and I have to decide where to download Yanik's biometric so that he can authenticate. Obviously, it's time consuming. It requires, user training. But the big thing is when users are not getting through a door with a biometric system, most of the time it's because there's been an administrative error. They weren't downloaded, they weren't local. And with us, none of that exists. We don't do any of it, and none of it matters. And I'll give you a demo so that you can kind of understand what that process looks like. So this is our interface. So I'm going to come over to my user list here. And I'm going to open up one of our access control integrations, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to program a user. One thing to note, you are going to live in your access control when we do our integrations. You are going to live in your access control system. I have our interface just to show you how quick it is and how the integration looks, but you're not actually going in there to add users or start enrollment or anything like that. So I'm going to come into Secure here, one of our integration partners, and I'm going to create a user for myself. I'm going to put in my name. I'm going to put in my credential. And then I'm going to put in my email address. And I click save. As soon as I do that, I'm going to bounce back over to my our interface. And you're going to see that the user profile that I just created without me touching anything in StoneLock, it appears here in real time. The other thing that happens is my watch and the other 30 devices in my office that tell me I have an email, they all come to life because the system sent me an email. And I'll show you what that means here in a second. So what did we do there? As soon as you hit save in the access control system, we pulled the user's name down, we pulled down their card number, we pulled down the status of their card, and we pulled down their email address. So that email address is optional. So I'm going to, and the other thing we did is we created a unique QR code for that profile. So everybody will automatically get a unique QR code. So for me to enroll, it's going to happen in one of two ways. I can either take that card that was programmed for me in the system and I can present it at any reader that allows for enrollment. Our display will come to life just like a mobile device's display comes to life when you put your face or your fingerprint into your phone. Our display is going to come to life. It's going to do the same thing, walk you through a really simple to follow step-by-step process just by tapping the user's card. We know that this card belongs to Greg Harman. If Greg isn't in the system, when he taps his card, let's start the enrollment process. 15 seconds later, I'm ready to authenticate on any reader on the system. It's becoming more and more common where users are not wanting to use physical plastic cards, but they just want to use their face. They want the convenience of it. And so in those scenarios, we send those users an email, like I just showed you on my watch, and embedded in that email is my unique QR code that you see on the screen here. So for those users who don't have a plastic card, all they have to do is show up, present their QR code, and the screen comes to life, walks them through enrollment. And just like I said before, I'll be able to authenticate on any other reader on the system in real time. So I'm going to stop sharing to try to make my screen a little bit bigger. And Yanik, can you see my hands? Like if I share, are you able to see the reader in the corner?
We see the readers and the StoneLock reader in the corner. Yes.
All right. Are you able to narrate this next part?
I will. So Greg's now going to walk over to the readers. He's got two readers there. And as he presents his face in front of that reader, we see a red face and a red lock. What that tells us is Greg is unknown. He's not enrolled yet, and there's no way for Greg to authenticate or verify. Greg's going to this QR code presented to the reader, and automatically the reader will start the enrollment because this was programmed as an enrollment reader. Greg is instructed to stay at arm's length, make a neutral face, and if he's got glasses, keep them on. We're going to start the enrollment in a couple of seconds. And then a little blue circle gets down the screen to keep the user's attention there, because that's how we want them to face the reader. Then the reader tells the user, take off your glasses if you had some, and we're going to do the second half of the enrollment. And what happens then is that second half is done. And just like that, now Greg can authenticate. He can authenticate on the two readers. And if you notice, he could move fast enough from the first reader to get to the second one where that enrollment was already, that key was already shared with the other reader. And that got done automatically. So this is how simple this is. You create a user in your access control system of choice. You show up with a card or a QR code, you enroll, and then you're off to the races. You have the most secure verification possible and the most convenient way. There you go.
And that was not a recording. That was me. I should have held up like a newspaper with
today's paper. Yeah.
Perfect. So let me jump back to the presentation. One other point that I'm going to make on this is obviously everything that you saw is completely touchless. This has become, within the last, 18 months has become a very significant point for many people. A lot of biometrics are contact based. This, from the enrollment through to authentication, is completely contactless. Users don't need to come, closer than a few feet away from the device to be able to enroll and authenticate on it. So what you just witnessed, of me enrolling here and then authenticating over here, is that I go through my enrollment process. My biometric key is captured. It's stored locally at the device, and then it's sent up to the gateway, and it's broadcast to every other reader that's connected to the gateway in real time. So my biometric is going to be local, and I'm going to be authenticating locally at the device, independent of the network, independent of the server, gateway, all that other stuff. So from an uptime standpoint, I just need the reader to be online. My biometric and the biometrics of 10,000 people will be local at every single reader. When I get into a database that exceeds 10,000, if I show up at a reader that I'm not local at, because we have 10,000 local users at that reader, and I'm user 10,001, when I show up at a reader that I have not been to, the reader will realize very quickly that that user is not local in that device, send the request up to the gateway. The gateway will authenticate that user, pull that user down to the reader, and now it becomes part of that local database, and it pushes off 10,000 users ago. So it will keep a rolling tally of the last 10,000 users who have been at that device. And from a user experience standpoint at the reader, they don't even realize that they've been authenticated at the gateway instead of on the device. It may take a little bit longer, but it's mostly indiscernible. Depends on network speeds. But they'll show up, reader will turn green, they won't even realize it, and now they're part of that last 10,000.
In most systems, what we've seen is the difference between being authenticated at the reader and from the gateway is about 200 millisecond. So again, for the user that just shows up and sees the reader, there's really not much of a difference. And then we'll just keep them local so that if there is ever a problem with the network, we don't rely on that to authenticate them the next time around.
So the user experience is completely seamless. As I just showed you, the management is going to be done in your access control system. Additions, deletions, and changes all happen in real time. There's nothing for you to do there. The integrations that we've done with our partners are all built into our platform. You just basically select the integration you're looking for, and you make your connection. So it is that seamless. We really make the product feel like it's part of their platform. One thing that's important to note is that the product that we are rolling with right now fits a lot of applications. We put it on high security doors, convenience doors like executive suites, turnstiles, choke points, those kind of doors. It is indoor only at this time. We are working on an outdoor unit, but this unit goes indoors and indoors only. The reason why is we work in the near infrared spectrum. When we put a device outdoors, the sun emits a very powerful near infrared. So we are working on an outdoor unit that will be able to accommodate.
One other thing worth mentioning here is the PoE, which is shown on the next slide. In terms of power, really, again, trying to take away the pain, all you need to do is connect a PoE switch to the device, and that device will be able to get its power from it. So it's very, very simple from a deployment standpoint.
Yeah. So we have not only simplified the enrollment process and simplified the integrations, all that sort of stuff, but we've really simplified cabling, and we've simplified installation and service. So to Yanik's point, it's PoE. The other thing that we have here is we support Weekend as well as OSDP. So if for those who are not familiar, Weekend is basically a clear text protocol that has been used in our industry for over 4 decades. Basically a way of communicating between a reader and an access control controller. OSDP is a new version. It is 128-bit AES encrypted, and it seems like it's sort of where everything is moving. It is the new standard, and yeah, we support the latest version of that of OSDP version 2.2.
The nice thing about that and how we do it, the OSDP protocol requires what we call a reader expansion module. What that reader expansion module will do is a couple things. One, it brings the security to a different level because we have that OSDP. So we can connect an OSDP capable reader to the REM and then the reader expansion module will be connected to the access control panel. What's a little different here, and what we've done very well, I think, is the ability to take an older install with older technology that did not support OSDP at the time and connect an OSDP reader on it. So we could go OSDP from the reader to the REM, and then from the REM, right there in that security closet, we could just have that last little bit on Wiegand. So we could start migrating companies, help them migrate companies at a lower cost by utilizing the REM. The other nice thing the REM does from an IT security standpoint, it will isolate the network. So as we connect this reader on the outside of that secured door with an IP PoE wire, that will get connected onto a REM, and that REM will completely protect the customer's network. So we only whitelist the gateway, we encrypt the data, we will only speak with a reader, and none of that needs to be managed outside of that REM. The REM comes out of the box and it's ready for that.
So we are universally compatible. Like if you look at the wall behind me, I've got an HID signal reader over there. I've got an IO smart reader over there. There's a million different card technologies. We're universally compatible as almost every reader technology in the world speaks either Wiegand or OSDP. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of requests for different card formats and different configurations. We can support them all as long as they're Wiegand or OSDP. Also, that QR code that we sent for enrollment, the way that I did it, it basically self-destructs and it just gets my biometric into the system. But if you want, you can toggle on a feature that would allow you to use that as a credential. A couple really cool applications for it. One, if you want to get away from doing plastic cards, but you need two-factor authentication, you can save that QR code to your Apple Wallet or your Google Pay, and you could use QR plus face for your two-factor authentication. The other thing that it does for you is, there you go.
Yanik's this is my little, I've set it up so that I have my my QR, my StoneLock reader or QR into my Apple Pay. And the minute I show up to the office, this will come up and then I can use that as a secondary means of authenticating.
Yeah.
This is pretty big in the data centers, right? Because this is a requirement that they use more than one factor. So
Yep. And if you've used mobile boarding passes, you know how easy it is. It is that simple. QR as a credential is also great if you want to use it for visitor management. So during certain hours of the day, some of the doors require, a QR code for visitors. You can do that as well. These can basically double as a QR code reader at that point. We have built, there's a few things to note about this slide. So number one is we are compatible with every access control system that anybody may have in their facility. They all allow you basically to do a CSV export, and we can pull that data down. So what I just showed you through our integrations, we can do that through a manual process. So we are technically compatible with any access control system on the planet. From a integration standpoint, our baseline with this product is level 2. So we built level 2 integrations with Cantech, Software House, Genetech. Linnell is in process of getting certified. But most of the major ones that are sold and supported by Convergint. And what that means is when we do that integration, we'll do a full synchronization when we first connect. And then after that, we listen and we pull just the changes down. And all of that happens in real time. So it's not only a lot faster, obviously, but it takes a fraction of the bandwidth of a traditional biometric integration.
And you can check back with us. We expect we'll be rolling out about an integration every month. We're currently working on ProWatch. We've done the building management side of Honeywell a while back. So, there will be more to come, a lot more good news coming from that side.
Level 3 is an integration which requires approval from the access control manufacturer to allow us to push things back upstream. And we have done that with some of our integration partners, but what that allows us to do is to take events that would be part of StoneLock's vocabulary and push them into the access control system. So to give you an example there, if Yanik were to loan me his card and we're both enrolled in the system, card cloning, card loaning, these things are very hard to track. What this would allow us to do, is I present Yanik's card, we get a verification failed because Greg Harman used Yanik's card. So we get to create an alert that a verification mismatch happened. And then with a level 3 integration, which we've done with some of our partners, is we can send those events upstream into their event list. And now you can generate video pop-ups, or you can alert, security desk or whoever you need to based on those events.
And card sharing is one of those things, having dealt with access control for over 20 years, something that's not talked about a whole lot. And it's something that is very difficult to measure, because unless something wrong happens, you would know that Greg keeps using Yanik's card. There you go.
So,
So we tried to make this link as hard as it could be to find, and I think we succeeded. There's one other contender. It was longer, but we thought this was a good. No, actually, what we did here is we created a nice Calendly built-in link. So if you guys are streaming, you can pause and take that down. The thought process here is we've created a Convergint Calendly link so that you can have access to our sales team. You can book your own demos together with your customers, or as a customer, you can come in and book demos if you're interested in hearing more about the StoneLock product. And if that fails, well, we can also use the good old sales@stonelock.com email, and we'll be happy to help.
Yeah. Either will work. All of the integrations that we mentioned before, I have them up and running, ready to demo, as does the rest of the sales team. So if you use that link, we'll be able to come in. We'll show you your system, what the integration is going to look like, and be able to really tailor the session to what you're looking to get out of it.
All right. Well, Mr. Harman, it was a pleasure as usual.
Likewise.
And thank you everybody for listening in. We hope to have a lot of interactions with you guys. And until then, you have a great rest of your day.